You sent me, I think Megan sent me the link, so I
Yes.
just watched that, so that was good.
For last week's meeting.
Yeah, last week, yeah.
About your ideal client. And yeah, so
very timely.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, yeah, we will get started. We're the 25th of May. I don't know. We've been running these meetings now for 8 weeks, I think. And Council and the Chamber have been working with Leanne every Monday, to get some updates on what's been happening financially with COVID and funding, and what we must do to make sure that we're compliant and filling in all the right forms. And then also we've been focusing on a different topic each week, which is excellent. And Leanne, for me, these sessions have been fantastic, because as I'm talking to people during the week, the messages that you've been giving me and the updates really do resonate and provide me with more information to say to businesses, well, gee, I heard that the other day, and you need to check those few facts with your financial advisor, because, yeah, they're all really, really relevant. But so I just thought I'd share something with you. I was reading an article in Forbes about 4 major business trends that have evolved during COVID that resonated with me and really reinforced that we were doing things the right way. One was that the emergence of mobile commerce and no-touch payment, and that's not credit card based. It was 55% of people are now using non-credit card methods of online payments, such as Apple Pay, PayPal, other types of payments that are non-credit card payments. So yeah, I think that's been an emerging trend. Another one has been the emergence of leveraging different types of software and the critical nature of doing that. I know for a fact, I think just in Kiama alone, 6 or 7 of the businesses have now installed online shopping on their websites, which has been just essential. For years, we've been trying to encourage businesses to go this way, and this is just, I think the COVID situation has really forced their hand at doing it. So, which is great. The third one was expanded automation and the use that a lot of businesses are now using things like chatbots, so that a lot of your responses are automated rather than having to actually physically email people back the answers to their questions. You can set up a chatbot situation so that that's being dealt with. And the last one was the demand for faster delivery, so that people are willing, they don't necessarily want free delivery, people are willing to pay for faster delivery and even pay a premium to have it delivered within 2 days. So those are the sorts of trends that are evolving. And I must admit, whenever I see things online or have had experience of ordering things online, I don't want to wait a month to order something or for something to arrive. And I guess that's really exacerbated by the current situation at the moment. So they're just a few little takeouts, and I thought that they resonated with me, and I hope they did with you. Just a reminder, I think we'll probably continue with these events during June. Leanne and I haven't had an in-depth conversation, but I think the content has added value. For me, it certainly has. And the ability to be able to go back and watch the recordings as well, I think has been a fabulous resource too. But on Wednesday, we have a webinar at 12 o'clock, an ongoing series that we've had with Resolve Business Coaching of how to build and use a customer database. So again, just business 101, essential type of information for your business. And that's a webinar on Wednesday at 12 o'clock. So without further ado, Leanne Mitchell of Numbers Count Gerringong, would you like to enlighten us with what you know this week?
Thank you, Megan. I'll do this because then I'll just get me down. Okay, so it's interesting, as Megan says, each week to go back and now have a look at the journey of the beginning of COVID and the decisions that we were capable of making in week 1 and the various stimulus differences that travelled week by week by week. And it was a different journey every week. It was never consistent. And it's actually nice to go back and have a look at even at my notes over the last period of what were the key issues each week. So we've come to a position now, because things look quite good now. We're coming out of the whole COVID thing rather quickly. And it's interesting just for my client base to see how those people are actually coping with that response at the end of last week, the 50 people in the cafes and restaurants and things, and even opening the front doors to people's businesses because they got used to having them shut down, and the way that looked, and financially had managed their way around how the business might look. So as dangerous as winding down the business was for people, that absolute extremity of it's shut today and this is what we're going to do and how you're going to manage that, I think this coming out will be challenging on a whole different level for most businesses, and on many fronts, if not cash flow, but just personal management, staff management, even your own anxieties about what that's going to look like. And I really, really hope that lots of people, we've talked about it in the first couple of weeks of these webinars, really going back and looking at your business as it sits now and what you really want it to look like, because you had the option of rebuilding it. We only ever really take that opportunity often once, is when we first commence business. Everything else is just a constant rolling of changes and morphing of the business and how it rolls. So I'm hoping that lots of people took that time. In saying that, it's funny, because when we first started, we were looking at this whole thing going till August or September, certainly to the other side of winter. But here we are, 1st of June, and everything's up and running and we're mobile again. So anyway, interesting times yet again. But I'll state, as Megan said, I think, and definitely Kiama and Gerringong watching and being involved with the businesses here, the resilience of people is amazing. What people have managed to do and turn their businesses around and make work on a whole different level. And it was an interesting conversation that I had with a couple of clients that I met with them over the weekend, but is commercial property, if you've got clients, employees and associates working from home, what's your actual need for commercial space? Rent becomes very expensive. Whilst that's true in Kiama and Gerringong, much truer of the CBD areas of Wollongong and Sydney. So it will be interesting to see how businesses take that challenge moving forward. So this week, as always, we're up to the second fortnight for those businesses who are paying employees on JobKeeper. The second fortnight finished yesterday. Now, there's still a little bit of dubiousness about, the statement on the tax office website, it had said that the wages had to be paid yesterday. I don't know how harsh they're going to be about sticking to that. But on the back of that, you can't notify to the tax office until the 31st of May to get your validation for May through, but they are extending into the 15th of June to do that. And I think it's mainly for those clients using tax agents, because obviously for us, there's a lot of those clients wanting to get across the line. So yeah, basically they've said practitioners will have an additional 7 days to make the JobKeeper business declaration on behalf of their clients. The problem with that, of course, if you don't the longer it takes you to do the declaration, the longer it takes to get the money. Now, it is interesting that, and I did have a chat. I had one client under review last Monday when we did the webinar. So we forced the issue, nothing came of it, and the client did get their money on Thursday. But they've been saying that the tax office has been reporting that they're not holding it up on purpose, but in the end, there was no given reason as to why they held up this client's reimbursement of their JobKeeper, and it was a substantial sum of money. So really interesting. So now I will state again that, and it's interesting because professionally we're being advised of it, but I think clients also, where the tax office are asking for the actual figures for the month of May now, and your estimate for June, be very, very careful what figures you're putting in, because I've got clients thinking that because they need to continue to qualify for JobKeeper, they're not actually telling the truth. So they're downgrading what that is actually going to create for them. Because the reality is that we know whilst the restaurants and cafes that have all of their staff on JobKeeper, they will, and the legislation says they will keep the JobKeeper until September. Once your employees have triggered onto JobKeeper, they remain on JobKeeper until it completes in September. So you only needed one triggering month to get on, and then you can stay on for the entire 6 months. So I will advise, be really careful on downgrading that or playing with your figures to try and comply. You already complied when you started. The reality is move it forward so that the tax office and the federal government get the correct figures to know actually how this type of stimulus is actually reacting into the economy and how you are building your business. Because again, some clients struggled in that April stage where things wound down, but they've managed to, in different avenues of raising and selling, being able to maintain and push their income back up. But that's the purpose of it, because you may have made a different decision if you didn't have JobKeeper to enable you to do that. So the purpose of the stimulus package was to keep people up and running, keep people off unemployment, because as we saw on that point, unemployment came in at 6.5%. There was the conversation that, of course, without JobKeeper, it could have gone to 10%, because in the original days, a lot of the bigger clients, the larger, smaller to medium firms, stood their staff down from day one, given that they couldn't actually do anything with them, nor did they want their headache of trying to cash flow the wages through. I mean, Alan Joyce of Qantas was a classic mover on, and it was interesting to watch how he manipulated that very strategically, very strong show of leadership. But the JobKeeper did keep people off unemployment, but it also kept, and I think this was the important part of the JobKeeper process, was it kept those staff members and those employees attached to that business, so that when we were coming out of, we didn't have this great push by employers then trying to find staff. So I think they did really do a good job of managing it. There are a few little headaches, but not too poorly. Just be really, really cautious. Whatever figures you're using to put in for your actuals and your forecasts, make sure you've got a good reason why you came up with those numbers. You may not need to validate them, but you may be asked the question. And I just think, as we've seen, the decisions we're making today are very different to the decisions we were making on the 15th of March when all of this went down. And we can't really, there's no way we can comprehend what we were going through on the 15th of March, because it's been such a journey. So please, as much as possible, write things down, keep notes about why and how you did things. It'll make life much easier going forward, because it will be the same. The tax office will and could inadvertently make that mistake of thinking that you should be required to validate what went on, when in actual fact, most businesses were just in survival through that stage. Now, the Treasury has drastically lowered the estimated job of the JobKeeper program, and it only tells you that communication by Treasury and the tax office didn't get through to businesses as well as it should have. So according to Treasury and the tax office, the enrolment forms completed 910,055 businesses who self-assessed as being eligible under the scheme. That indicated they would have 6.5 million employees. So what they've found, that around 1,000 of those businesses appeared to have made significant errors in putting that information in. Now, what they actually did was report the amount of the JobKeeper instead of the number of employees that would be valid for the JobKeeper. So they're significant. So what they're saying is where when you registered the employer should have put 3 staff, they actually put $4,500. So the Treasury have just accumulated all of those figures and got it was $4,500. Now, there was no cross-referencing of what those numbers look like or the ridiculousness of it. But at the time, we were all running minute to minute. So there just was a little bit of a lack of probably cross-referencing around that. But
I don't know how to do that, Leanne. The form was very easy to fill in.
Yeah, well, apparently people didn't manage it. Yeah, so, and obviously this is a continuing reporting every month now until we finish. So it'll be the end of September. Yeah, anyway, insignificant. So the Treasury now expect that the number of employees likely to be covered under the JobKeeper program is 3.5 million. So that's a significant number. As I said, well, it keeps unemployment under the $10 million. But as we will see over the next couple of weeks, most of the businesses, now that they're allowed 50, obviously the actual distancing issues and how many people you can actually get in your venue is still a significant. So you may be able to have the 50 people, but whether you can actually fit them in with the physical distancing requirements is a whole different situation. So where there's been lots of chatter about whether JobKeeper would be abandoned early, I don't think, while there are still physical distancing restrictions, I just don't see that there's any possible way for that to happen, because a lot of those bigger venues still will struggle to get enough people into them. I mean, at this point, we still don't have beauticians, churches, and a lot of those businesses still aren't allowed to be running. We haven't been given dates when they might all come on board. So there's been some, in hindsight, I'd love to read somebody's biography about why they made some of the decisions they've made on the way through, but at least somewhere there's been stimulus and money to help support those people through these times. And Treasury, Josh made the statement, it remains the case in the absence of the JobKeeper program, the Treasury would have expected the unemployment rate to have been around 5 percentage points higher. So on this statement, I'll make that if you have not applied for April JobKeeper yet, so anybody that is still getting around their head around that and getting their employees up, you're reminded that the 31st of May is the deadline to backdate to April. We were given that extension originally. Whilst there shouldn't be too many people at this point, hopefully everybody's got it up and running. It does still give you that opportunity should you have missed the boat, to get backdated for April and then May at the same time. So on that, before I move on JobKeeper, does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask? I think it's been a monumental journey, the old JobKeeper, and very different for every single business. So it's interesting, the questions that come across the line. Again, it's been interesting for us inside this practice where businesses expected that they were down and wanted to register for JobKeeper and did. I would say probably 5% of our clients who originally thought that they would qualify in the end didn't, for one reason or another, mainly that their turnover wasn't down the 30%, wasn't even close to down 30%. I think there was a fair lot of panic around initially. So it really was the cafes, restaurants, and those things that were actually forced physically to shut and people not to go in that really were the businesses affected by the 30%. Certainly the businesses attached to those in supply chains and those bouncing off those businesses were affected, but somewhat not by the 30%, which has been interesting watching people's figures. And I think a really positive point and acknowledgement of the resilience of the certainly the regional market, but I think too just of the Australian personality.
Leanne, have you had many businesses that have applied for the New South Wales Government $10,000 small business grant?
Yes, we have, and we've got a couple got them through. They changed. We had a couple of, well, we probably had, I think, 6 apply in the first few days, and they've changed the requirements. So we've been going back and providing additional documentation across the line for that. But yes, we had a fair few. Most of those are retail shop fronts and cafe businesses, restaurants that just shut their door. So that was a substantial injection, really, as was not having to pay, for a lot of businesses, not having to pay that March BAS when it was due this week. So that's having a flow-on cash flow effect as well, the PAYG from the first stimulus. Oh, it's something I was going to say, I can't think. But yes, so it, yeah, interesting times. Now, speaking of that, there is another $10,000 grant just hit the road on the weekend. So, and I'm going to actually read this a little bit more clearly because it is new and it is very specific about what it's doing. So the Council of Small Business of Australia, that runs out of Canberra and has a lot to do with Scott Morrison's office, is offering grants to Australian small businesses adversely affected by the coronavirus pandemic. These grants are made possible by Salesforce, and the grants will be offered as a one-off payment of $10,000, including GST, to 67 businesses across Australia. Where 67 comes from, I don't know, but it's a nice little wild number. I thought that was quite interesting. So the purpose behind offering these grants is to assist businesses on the pathway to recovery now. So the $10,000 grant originally by the state government was to effectively help support with overheads and the running of your business during these times of shutdown and support those expenses. This is the one to help you come out of it. So recovery after temporary closures and restrictions resulting from COVID-19. Recognising that cash flow is an issue for many small businesses. And I did have that conversation last week. I think that it is going to be the thing that's going to jeopardise a lot of businesses, and something sort of certainly wary of looking after, especially given the physical distancing of how you get people into your venue and how that's going to look is an awful lot of planning and consideration by some of those businesses. So what are the grant is for? They're aimed at supporting initiatives by small businesses that as they adapt and innovate to emerge from this challenging period in a strong position. Such initiatives could include repurposing, remodeling workspace, redesigning your business processes, new approaches to marketing, creating a new or upgraded digital presence, acquiring new software or equipment for the specialised service, or anything that's aimed at securing or growing your business into the future. And I think this comes on the back end of that a lot of resilience that's come out of this is people and entrepreneurs have looked at different ways of actually keeping their business up and running at a time where keeping your brand alive, just keeping your business into the marketplace. Now, often a lot of them will have those two available platforms, which, as Megan mentioned earlier, I think that these are different times. Some of these businesses will never be, we will never go back to the old way of doing business. So, and it's interesting that in the implementation of the proposal for this, you can either do it in writing or a video and provide a case study of the journey. The only point they've made down the bottom is that COSBO and Salesforce will share publicly how some grant recipients use their funds by asking grant recipients to provide with a case study showing how they actually use the $10,000. So it is, whilst it would be a fair bit of work, and it's not obviously going to be for everybody, it's a great opportunity to get your business out there in the bigger arena off the back of that we are regional, and the marketing possibilities are amazing, I think. So the key eligibilities for this grant is: one, it has to be a for-profit company with an ABN, must have between 2 and 15 employees, which is interesting. That goes against the original $10,000 grant by the New South Wales government, which only required 1 employee, which often did include family businesses. Sometimes once you get into 2 and 15, you're actually where you've got external employees into your business. And you must have been in business for a full 2 years as of 1st of March 2020. So you must have been operating back on the 1st of March 2018. And you must have an annual revenue between $150,000 and $2 million. Now, there is a website reference that I'll get Megan to send through to you later on, but basically it's an online application form. The applications were opened at 9 a.m. this morning and will close at 5 p.m. on Monday, the 1st of June. So it doesn't give anybody a lot of time. But honestly, I think are fantastic opportunities for those people that have been able to flip their businesses. The selection process will be completed on Monday, the 8th of June, with provisionally approved grant recipients to be contacted on Tuesday, the 9th of June. So this is not a long-winded process, and you will know by the middle of next week. Provisionally approved grant recipients will be asked to complete a criminal record check in relation to the business owners. Interesting. And successful grant recipients will be publicly announced on Monday, the 29th of June. Grants will be paid and into the bank account on Tuesday, the 30th of June. COSBO's selection panel retains the exclusive right to decide which applicants it does and does not, of course. And a simple grant agreement will be negotiated with the business that accepts the funds. So and this is, it's really quite, and I'm hoping that some of our arty businesses, galleries and things take this on, because according to COSBO, it's a wide variety of proposals are welcome. Proposed initiatives could be redesigning and remodeling, but changing your digital processing. And we've seen that with some of the galleries in Kiama and Gerringong, how they're actually keeping their presence, and the bands and the music and Laughter House Entertainment, all of those guys found a different way to actually get to their market online. The comment by the CEO of Salesforce, which is where the money's come from, we've seen many Australian small businesses work to stabilise their businesses, to reimagine how they can operate, and to find a new way to connect with their customers. As we look to the next phases of reopening many parts of our society, small businesses challenged to return to work and get a growth back to a next to normal. And that's what this initiative is trying to support the small business market to do. In all of the years I've been in business, this is the most proactive I've ever seen a federal government in the way that money is being offered and stimulated to small business, and acknowledging that they have such a significant part to play in our economy. In regional areas, obviously, they're the major employers, and they really are very significant. When that town has a downturn after the bushfires and the floods we've just been through, it's been really interesting to see how quickly this money's been made, but how thoughtful it's been about the way that it got rolled out. I will mention again the My Business is COVID Safe website. It has a plan of how to institute the changes into your business, no matter what style of business. They're just guidelines, but they're very practical, and it started off on its own little website to support people in their businesses. So, about keeping people in your business safe, clients and your staff, adapting these changes into your business and how that might look, and just how to get some support and assistance. And there are in the back of this some government departments on that you can get in contact with to support you to do that. But it's actually got a great worksheet at the back of this process that you can work through, which gives some level of confidence to your staff in your workplace, but also the people coming in and out of your workspace, notifications of letting them know what the process looks like and what is expected of them to maintain safety for you as well as for the people coming in and out of your business. Take a breather. So that's sort of my financial update and legislative update for this week. Obviously, I know for us, it's when I said to the girls about this new grant this week in our business, there's so much in just getting us up and platform to getting clients safely into our office. It's interesting that at a time like this, you would be trying to put together a proposal to get that grant, but that $10,000 obviously would be significant. And I think even getting your business linked with the Council of Small Business in Australia, I think is significant. It is an establishment that not too many small business owners even know existed. And I'll admit, it's only a very short time ago that I met somebody that worked there that I realised how significant they are in the small business arena in federal politics in Canberra. They are very well looked and listened to. So if we can get so a few more small businesses in there and acknowledging, especially in our region, I think that would be really significant. Okay. Any more questions before I... Everybody got their money? I know, Shane, you struggled to get your JobKeeper through fairly quickly. You did manage. You got your money?
Sorry, just unmuted. Yes, it came through in the process, and it was just confusing. Also speaking with the ATO on their timelines, and I understood, of course, it was really a rushed work and progressive working model through the JobKeep process, the online applications, through to the payments to businesses. But yeah, it was just concerning because it was taking up to 6 weeks, because the third fortnightly payment we pay to our employees which is a substantial, in small business, it starts to become a substantial amount of money for employees. But it went through, so we're moving on in the process.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that everybody's worked out the glitches in their system, so that money will come floating through a little bit quicker this time round. Yeah, look, it was very tricky, but I think it was a learning for the tax office as well as everybody else. And some of it they didn't handle so well. And we do have to remember, in the end, the tax office staff are employed to do a particular job. And this is the handing out of money without a review process, or without a significant review process, is certainly not in their arena. They have systems of cross-checking before any money is released out of the tax office. So I think that was a little challenging just to let this money go on the basis of what the businesses provided to them. But that was the purpose of the JobKeeper program. I still do think the tax office was the best place for it. I think if it had gone through
Absolutely
or somewhere, it would have just been a disaster. I think also the single touch payroll, which I know everybody found challenging to implement as of the 1st of July last year. I have found that has made this process of getting JobKeeper for staff of our clients' employers a much simpler process across the line. I think gives a much greater level of guarantee. So yeah, really, really interesting, because it still is, as you say, Shane, quite a substantial investment of cash flow. I've got a couple of clients who did get advances from their banks to fund that cash flow, but of course that will have to be paid back in September. And if it is not, then interest, I assume, will be backdated on those loan monies. But they were guaranteed, obviously, by the federal government on the basis that you would get JobKeeper. So you self-assessed, you registered, there is an agreement that if the federal government have backed that loan where you got that funding from your bank to fund JobKeeper, then the tax office were liable to pay it to you. Interesting little scenario. I haven't obviously had anybody fall into that little hole, but I'm sure there may be a few that may happen to. All right, well, today's little piece of value add, today we're just continuing on. Last week I wasn't actually going to continue on with the avatar, but it went down so well last week. And I think what's interesting is that we all do get caught. It doesn't matter whether we've just recently got into business or we've been in business for a period of time. The client base that we sell to, we can still very much, the busier we get, forget that we need to be focused on what they want from us, not what we are selling. So we can be very, very clear on what our offering is to the marketplace, but we need to be very clear about what the marketplace wants from us. So the exercise last week was about visualizing and getting down to, what does that person look like? Who are they? And what do they look like? What are their dynamics, their demographics? Because they're really important. We're selling to an individual who is a person, and we all like to be sold to as a person. So when we sell, we need to remember that when we are on the other side of the transaction and we are a buyer, what do we want from the person who is offering? We've gone in there in desire of something. So we have to remember that when we're selling, we need to understand what that person's coming in to buy from us. So we last week looked at the technicalities of what that looked like, as to what that, I was just trying to, because we're this week working through, why are they coming to you and how are you going to get them? How do they know you even exist? Now, I know that in our community, I think this is where the businesses who have managed to get online platforms have started to find a market in their own community that they did not know existed, because there are people in their community that did not know they existed. So how do you get yourself focused into that? Now, it's something, I mean, I've honed in on it for years, but Megan and I have spoken about for many years. And council know how many businesses are registered in the Kiama LGA. And it's surprising how many of those businesses are not connected to the Kiama Chamber of Commerce, are not connected to the Gerringong Association, but they actually exist in our marketplace. And surely those people would want to be selling to their local community. And on the other hand, we would want local people to know that we are there and to come and buy from us. But what do we actually want them to look like, and who are they? And it isn't about always just what we think that we are selling them, and also not to underestimate the personal relationship that you build with that person, because in business to business, we are selling one person to another. And if we are in small business, it's about the person that's coming to us, who's interacting with us on a level of conversation and an offering that we need to be very, very clear about. So last week, we really looked at that, because we want people in our world, we want to sell to people that we have that connection with, that we know and innately understand them, and they're going to buy from us. They're in a situation to buy from us what we want to sell, and we're not bending as much to selling them what they came in the door for. And niching our market makes it much better and easier to nail our offering, and to make sure that the people that are coming to us are buying what we want to be selling them, not a lot of fringe offerings going, oh, you came to, I could do that and I could do that. That doesn't create a good, strong relationship. It needs to be that there's a connection at you're selling them what you want to sell, and they're buying from you the peak thing that they came in your door and connected with you for. So, and I really, if you've all got pens and paper, I think working through this, when we're setting up our customer avatar on the brain, the thing that we really need to be clear of, and when we've got the customer avatar, we need to keep it in front of us, because we really need to be looking and reminding ourselves, which is why I've gone back to have a look at this at the minute, because we really need to stick to that and not get guilty of taking every client that walks through the door and just finding something to sell that person. So what we need to understand about our avatar is, what are their goals and values? Now, that isn't only in, they have personal goals and values, which you can connect with, but goals and values in their business. Because again, we want to align our goals and values in our businesses with the goals and values of the people that we sell to. If we get that right, that's a longer term connection and an easier capacity to keep people coming back into your world. And they are really significant. It's much easier to sell to somebody multiple times when you have the offering that they know they can always come back to you for, and you become the front of house person in their world. So what are their goals and values, and what are your goals and values, and where do they actually meet? In doing this, I know in our process when we did it, the easiest way to know how that works between you is to find your existing favorite client, the client who you just have that connection with, who always comes to you first. You are their trusted go-to person. Have that conversation with them. A lot of business coaches will do the whole, we'll get out there and do a bit of a business survey. I think the issue with business surveys is people will tell you, again, what they think you want to hear, not what is actually real for them. So my word of advice on this is, go and talk to either your top client or your top 2 clients, and find out from them what it is about them, about their goals and values. Find out a little bit personally about them. Find out how they use their personal goals and values and what that looks like in their business. I'm here to tell you, in my experience, it was interesting because the clients that I picked didn't really have that appreciation of themselves. They didn't really know how their own goals and personal values reflected into their own business. So the value add just on that conversation was incredible. But what I was able to get out of it was, then once I know what their goals and values are in their business, how I could align my goals and values with them, or where our goals and values so misaligned that we could have a connection and have a business transaction. And for a period of time, I might be the trusted advisor for a small bit of that business. But eventually the alignment will show cracks in the business and in the relationship. So it's really strong situation to make sure that you align those goals and values. And I would say in an accounting practice, obviously, I'm very clear about the goals and values and ethically and morally where I stand on how I give advice, what sort of clients I like to work with. And that comes through very clearly in the clients who walk in my door in the initial conversation I have. And I don't think it matters in any business. Even if you are a retail shopfront, the connection, you need to build a connection with that person when they walk in the door. The easiest way to do that is start a couple of questions about your avatar client. Connect with that person and find out initially whether you have aligned goals and values. Once you have that, they will stick around in your business. They will stick around to have a look to see what you have and look at how your business connects with them on a whole different basis. But it is something that you really, really should do and keep up on your office wall about who those person are, what were those goals and values that you found easily in alignment with those particular people. And I'm going to say, because when you know what they are, the social platform for your Facebook and Instagram becomes very simple because you know what they are. You can even go and repurpose existing pieces that you've used, repurpose other people's pieces that go, that's in alignment with my goals and values. Acknowledge that where you see a client or a person that you've not connected with before and go, wow, you're in alignment with me. I'm going to share your post, share your page, have a conversation, bring them into your world. Go out looking for those people in the social platform arena, in Facebook and Instagram, even Twitter, that have similar opinions, similar biases in the way that they do business, and go and reach out and grab those and bring them into your world. That conversation is really interesting. In my arena and not in everybody's, but LinkedIn is fabulous for that. And I've noticed over this shutdown period, I mean, there's lots of web process and developers all wanting to connect into my business. What I notice is that when they write to me with a message, if they get that message right, I connect. But if that's just if they know nothing about my business, they haven't had a look at my website, they haven't had a look at my LinkedIn profile, I just ignore it because they've made no effort to connect with me. I'm just one of 250 links that they tried to get on board with today. But where I had a couple said, I noticed, and they were truthful, they've gone and actually noticed something in my LinkedIn profile and said, I like that about you, that's in alignment with me. I've gone, wow, okay, let's continue a conversation. It may not be that I particularly need them for anything, but I like the fact that they've made an effort to come to me. And if I'm looking to refer, I can tell you I will use those people to refer because I know that they'll be looking after my clients in the same manner that they connected with me. And that's really, really important. Even in Instagram and Facebook, just putting things out just because it looked nice. Be cautious and careful that it's sticking to your goals and your values and it's in alignment so people know who they're getting into bed with and are attracted by those goals and values and the type of thing that you're sharing about what your business does. I wouldn't say, if you've ever used SurveyMonkey, if you are a little bit interested, it again is a great way to connect with people, putting out your values and goals in your business and asking clients if they align with it, if they have an interest in it. If there's some sort of platform that is that provides a connection that maybe you didn't go looking for, it is a great way to go digging in maybe some of your second tier clients that you're not in connection with as often, but somewhere just keeping them in your loop is invaluable. And my point in the goals and values is make sure that you actually write those things down. So when you're doing a Facebook or an Instagram post or you're going on to a LinkedIn, make sure that you are continually aligning with that. Don't go off on a tangent of aligning with something else that somebody else looked nice, because that may not be in alignment with what you do. And then your offering to the marketplace doesn't capture its niche. And then it's not in alignment with the authenticity of who you are. And once you lose that, there's a lot of wasted energy goes out into the ether when you're not staying absolutely aligned and focused. So please write those things down. Whilst you think they don't move, it's a little bit like the JobKeeper process. Every week, as the Treasurer, the Prime Minister and Tax Office got hold of it, everybody's looking, changing and morphing things to make it work better, to get the aligned outcome. And if you are doing that in your process and aligning things for a better outcome, that's great. But be very clear about what you want the outcome to be. You want the outcome to be your avatar coming to you. You want to be able to put it out there that they can find you, come in and go, phew, I've been looking for you everywhere. Let's have a conversation. And that authenticity and that alignment and that connection is so incredibly important. But be very clear. You can sell to many, but the value in business, in your business, in adding your whole process is niching your market. Be really clear about it. Keep it in writing and stick to it with everybody that you interact with. The other thing that's an interesting part along of the social platforms of connecting with these people, and obviously I didn't mention newsletters, but they can be invaluable also of value adding to clients, is what sources of information do those people use to get their development in their business, entrepreneurial development? Who are they connected with? Where do they go? Have those conversations with those top clients of yours and find out who's their business guru, who is their mentor, who do they go to, and why do they go looking to those people? And again, where do they go? Where do they get their source reading material and referencing for what they're doing in their business? And start to, again, see if you are in alignment with those. Is that another resource that you can use? Grab some of their material, their gurus' things, and start to put it into your social platforming. Because a lot of that information put out at a social platforming, they're happy to share. If they are not, make a contact with that person, especially if it's a business guru or a coaching person that everybody's using online. Reach out and touch that person and go, how do I get, because maybe they've got a whole bunch of people that are in alignment with your business, and you may be able to bring them into your social platform if that person has the same goals and values in their business as you. As you see, it's an exciting process to come up with your avatar, but it's really something that you really need to sit down and spend some good quality time on and get past the idea of, as you do when you're first in business, any client's a good client. Any customer walking in the door is a good customer. But you need to make sure that they're in alignment with your goals and values. Even if I go to the example of a retail shop dress front, a dress shop front, and you've got a particular style of clothing. In your shop window, you need to put at the shop window the type of clothing that you have back of house needs to be advertised in that shop window. It's the same with your social platform, with your Instagram. That's your shop front window. What does it tell the people who are looking for you? How does it capture their imagination and go, hey, that guy's right in alignment. He's doing right what I want. I'm really interested in that business. How do I get in? How do I get into your door? And then make it easy for them to get into your door. And that's your avatar. That's the person what is it in your shop front window that you're actually selling to that business? And it's the same whilst it's old fashioned. Books, magazines, all of those things are still utilized by people to go sourcing material. And I noticed even in our local community, the local newspapers often will do write-ups by different businesses on an aspect of their business. Now, if you may not be a blogger, may not be somebody who can write long bits of copy, more doing snappy little pieces, but those opportunities to be interviewed in one of the local papers, to give out your values. Once you have your avatar, get it out there. Get out there and tell people, this is the sort of client I'm looking. Are you my avatar? Are you the sort of client I want in my business? Because I want you. There's nothing, we all want to be wanted. We all want to be special to somebody. And it is just about making that avatar feel special enough to want to walk in your door. The last point, because there's been a lot in today, so I'll leave it at that, but is the demographic information. Be really clear about what age group they are, where do they live, where do they hang out, who's in their world. So be really clear about, because that targets where they're looking. Where are they looking for? Who are they connecting with? And how you get into that connection of their trusted people and the people that they get resource material from, whom they ask for references for work to be done. I know in Gerringong, and it's an interesting scenario, having been a city girl of the past, but I know clients will often ring me out of the blue and say, oh, I need some air conditioning work done. Who do you recommend? Person to person. People still want a recommendation from somebody. So, you know, the old marketing theory says there are always 3 points of contact before somebody will come and buy from you. One of them is going to be visual, be somewhere visual, whether it be they like your Facebook and Instagram. One, often in regional and smaller town areas, that they'll ask the people that they trust for a referral. And the other thing is that they will check out your website or something that is a factual piece to see, well, who are you, before they actually come and get to know you. Now, that is the same whether it be a retail shop front, whether you're a marketing guru, whether you're a journalist, you're doing copy, even doctors, dentists, medical. More often than not, they will go searching out for some reference material. Nobody comes to you without having spoken to somebody about you. And what is it that they were told about you before they came to see you? What did they read on your website that said, yes, definitely I want to connect with that person? What was it on the Facebook? If you've got your avatar right, those people are going to read your website. They're going to read your social messaging. They're going to read your blogs. They're going to ask people, and they're going to get the right message that you're the person that they want to come and talk to. So that's this week's little message. And I think as we come out of COVID, it's really important to make sure that we grab those people we want, make them feel wanted. Everybody I have spoken to in the last couple of weeks, it doesn't matter whether it's clients, my staff, the dentist, somebody at the coffee shop, everybody's got a little bit of anxiety about this, because we all went into this shutdown and we all did that inside the manner of our own anxieties and our own fears. Now we all need to come out of it. Small business, we have and are in a fantastic position to help nurture our clients, our community back into their normal operations in under our wings. Trust us. Look what we've got. We've got alignment of values. We're who you want to be with. And it's because people are out there shopping again. They want to know who they can trust, feel confident with. You know, even today when I said about the COVID plan, make sure that people walking your door or connecting with you know that you've considered their safety, because that is very significant to a lot of people. Other than my 90-year-old clients who insist on coming out of their house and walking up my stairs and walking in my door and saying, no, please go home. We can deliver anything to you. It's really hard to try and keep the elderly. I think the longer they've been in lockdown, the crazier they've gotten, and the more that they don't want to be in lockdown position. And I will say I'm just so very blessed and feel fabulous that Gerringong and Kiama so far have not had a case. And those oldies who cannot stay in the four walls of their house and continue to come out and want to connect and have a conversation are so far safe. So let's hope that that continues. But I think it's all good news this week. But I will say, you know, back to the 1 to 50, all of that, opening our office doors, opening our shop front doors. Be generous and careful with yourself. Feel safe for yourself. And in doing that, we'll learn how to feel safe and give that safety and that comfort to the people that we come into connection with, and the way that we share how we're going to continue the rest of 2020, because we will never go back to how we ever did business before. So it is a great opportunity, And what I love about this series is that we've been able to connect with people who haven't sat in the woe be me, look what happened, because it happened to every single one of us. Every single one of us was affected in different ways during this period of time. And we will look back towards the end of this year and look at this period and have our own stories around that. And I think if you've never been a blogger, I would suggest that you do that. Write a blog about your experience. It doesn't have to be grammatically correct. It doesn't have to be anything, but share those stories, because I think moving on, they are going to be a significant part of how small business entrepreneurs in the future will look at the resilience and the capacity of people who went from an incredible level of freedom in what we did in our businesses to a very different business arena in a very different world and different community. So wishing you all the best. I'll log in and catch up next week. We'll wait and see what the next week looks like in the town of the rollout of COVID, and cross fingers. I know I do that instead of old-fashioned, hoping that we all stay safe and that COVID will be a part of our past and not a part of our future. So thank you all. And again, thank you, Megan, for this opportunity for Council and the Kiama Chamber of Commerce for having supported us to be able to keep people up to date and stay connected, even while people are stuck at home. But thank you.
Thanks, Leanne. I think really, really relevant information, and it just reminds us what is important in our businesses. And the whole keep front of mind who your perfect customer is just business 101. And we all need to be reminded of those perfect ideas. Yeah, look, we will continue these. I think next Monday will be particularly relevant, I guess, when different rules and regulations come into practice. And I guess it also gives us the opportunity to have a discussion together about where we move forward and what's happening, and gives us the opportunity to ask any questions, which I think is a really good opportunity as well. Don't forget, Wednesday, we've got the webinar about how to build and use a customer database, which again is important for your business. Does anyone have any questions before we finish? No questions? No?
Yeah, probably the only thing that's, I'm in a very different situation to probably everyone else in the room, that I'm doing a startup. So I'm actually in the process of actually just finishing a business plan. And marketing strategy obviously is a huge part of business planning. And obviously something that probably every business person, if they can get the time, is a good thing to revise, to dust off their business plan. But that particularly resonated with me in my marketing strategy, and the way that a lot of marketing professionals are now talking about it. If you do that sort of mapping of values and goals in your ideal customer, you get a bunch of touch points. And I think Leanne alluded to that earlier. You know, people need to see your message up to 4 or 5 times. At every time, you've got to be laser focused, especially in digital marketing, but in all marketing, in hitting those touch points. That's probably just some feedback that I got from the very interesting talk.
Thank you, Ross.
Thank you. Excellent. Anybody else have any questions before we finish? No? All right. Well, look, thanks again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you Wednesday, and if not Wednesday, next Monday. And Leanne, thank you so much for giving us your expert opinion and providing the opportunity for us to ask questions and get some feedback. So thanks again, and we'll see you all shortly. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Have a lovely week. Bye.
Everybody.
Thank you.